Hello, welcome back. This is Frantz Kantor here, cartoonist, illustrator, talker. I'm here enjoying the lockdown. I don't know if you can enjoy it, but such as it is, there you have it. Today I'm doing another drawing, and yes, I am doing another caricature because I learned so much from them. They're a lot of fun. You can probably tell who I'm going to draw over there. This fellow here, Morgan Freeman. These are some of his films. Shawshank Redemption, of course, $7 Million Baby, Driving Miss Daisy. He was in The Dark Knight. Angel Has Fallen, another great film. Invictus. Going in Style. Bruce Almighty, Bucket List. Bruce Almighty played God. Olympus Has Fallen, he played the President of the United States. So I think also in what was another film that he played the President of the United States in. I think it was Deep Impact, of course. There you go. All right, so he's been in lots of films. Let's go back to the reference material. So Morgan was born in 1937, and he specialized in playing a lot of character roles, of course, and he was born in Memphis in Tennessee. So early days he was playing, in the 70s he was playing in Shakespearean theatre. He's earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Actually, what else has he got? He's won, recipient of various accolades, including Academy Award. He's won an Academy Award, Golden Globe Award, and Screen Actors Guild Award. So he's also was in Bofa and Steven Spielberg's Amistad, of course. He also played. He also played Nelson Mandela in Invictus. There you go. All right. So this is an interesting quote here. The most satisfying thing about this image is the fact that you're probably reading this in Morgan Freeman's voice. Now the thing about Morgan Freeman, he is such a class act that he obviously can play any character that he's given. Very, very versatile, but very sort of like acting royalty in a way. So his voice is very distinctive, and that's what this trope is all about. So when you've got a picture of Morgan Freeman, this is the picture that we're going to be working from, incidentally. So it's quite handsome. He's got his mustache, everything, all his signature expression, signature white hair, classy actor. And he's very sort of amicable, very open personality, very friendly. Let's have a look at, okay, so let's jump in now. So what I've done is I've made a thumbnail sketch of Morgan, and working from one of the photographs which I thought was quite iconic, and I've made I've tried to make a sort of a simple shape here, actually, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's like it looks like a headland, or it doesn't look like any particular shape at all. So maybe Florida. And the thing I want to sort of bring about is, like, within this simplified shape, I want to try to get as many of the details in as possible. And he's got an awful lot of details, got a ton of details to capture. And that's what I'm going to be working on. So in the photograph, in the reference, there is a light source, and it's coming in from the top right, and that means that we're going to be shading or using shadows or thinking about shadows that are going to form on the left-hand side of the object, of the face. Another thing to think about is, because It is a three-quarter view, some elements of the front, some elements of the side together. It's what they call a three-quarter view of the face, and that means that there is going to be perspective acting on the lines that elements line up are positioned on, like the line of the lips, the line of the nose, the line of the eyes, the eyebrows, etc., etc., etc. So these are lines that are going to lead away from us, and they're going to be referring to an horizon line with a vanishing point, right? But without we're referring to the vanishing point, we're not going to draw it. Okay, so it's just thinking about perspective, thinking about, of course, anatomy. So there's an awful lot of stuff to consider. You know, the muscles of the face. If you know anything about me, I like drawing comedians. I like drawing people that communicate with their face. Actors, including Morgan Freeman, communicates beautifully with his face. Obviously his voice as well, but visually communicates very, very well with his face. So there's a lot of these muscles and interactivity happening within the face itself. Obviously, muscles around the eyes, for example, are designed to protect the eye from light and from damage, etc. But they're also in humans, which are sort of distinctive in humans. We use our face muscles for communicating. So we actually, there's sort of a narrative possibility in the face. We look at faces and detect expressions and even thoughts. All right, so let's delve in. I've done this thumbnail sketch over here, and I've taken the opportunity to draw it bigger on toned paper. So we're going to have a really good time drawing these details. This white hair over, of course, there's a lot of details there. There's some very strong lighting in this photograph, which is incredibly flattering, I guess, to his expression, which is very, intelligent, incredibly intelligent and focused, which you would expect from an actor. All right, so let's jump in and get some sharper details going on here. We're using some brown pencils. These are Prismacolors. I think this is terracotta. We're using also, there's a slightly darker one, which is called a Tuscan red. These are Prismacolors. There's a white Prismacolor, so we're going to be drawing sculpturally. We're going to be drawing light as well as form and also shadows. Okay, and the black pencil is a harder lead. It's a harder pigment than the Prismacolor. This is a polychromo, so that means you can actually create some very harsh details for us because you can press it quite hard without the lead breaking. Okay, so let's press on. Here we go. We get some details, some nice details in here. I'm going to blow up the face a little bit. This is the reference that I'm working from. You can see there's quite a lot of details here. There's some very strong lighting on the nose. Obviously the hair is white, including the mustache. There's some striking light coming in to articulate his form, his wrinkles and furrows, etc. And his eyes they're shaded, but there is a little bit of reflection in there which we can try to find as well. So looking at it tonally, we've got a nice sort of range of tones from very dark with obviously the shadow areas and the shirt, inside the ears, inside the pupils, etc. and lines of the mouth. So we've got quite a bit of variety in the tone, and that's what we need. Now the shape I've simplified quite a lot here, so I'm going to have to re-establish the relationship between these elements. So when we're looking at doing a caricature, like if we're trying to establish a likeness, you have to build a relationship between the elements of the eyes, the nose and the mouth in this sort of a shape, this area of the face. So the center part is kind of like it forms a pattern of a T. So you've got the eyes and the eyebrows and muscles around the eyes, the nose, including the muscles around the nose, and the mouth, including the muscles around the mouth. If you look at the figure, right, the muscles around the mouth are ringed and they're attached to the cheeks, so everything is kind of related to one another. See the tendons that draw around the nose, down from the nose itself, also form part of the pulling structure of the lips. So there's quite a lot of variety in those muscles, and that's what we need to refer to. We need to think about it, okay? So it's not something like a shopping list anatomy, nor is perspective, but within trying to find a likeness, you need to build a relationship. You need to sort of understand the basic forms. So sometimes in shadow, for example, and there is shadow in this photograph, you have to establish where exactly the details are, because they can be hidden by the light or the lack of. All right, so let's try to. Actually, I might use some of these lines here. I might use a stronger pigment to capture them. They're kind of nice to grab. So there's a lot of the shadows here are indicating a lot of three-dimensional form on Morgan's face, and that's very important to refer to constantly. So this is a formal painting, formal drawing, in that we're drawing form. Form is created by a relationship of light and shade. It creates a three-dimensional effect, right? Now remember, this is not a photograph, this is a caricature, it's a drawing. Drawings are not photographs, so they're a little bit more intense than a photograph. You've actually got to learn as you go, and sort of think about the structure of the eyes, which is what I'm trying to do here. Be careful with the amount of detail, because it can very quickly escalate and become a thing where it takes over. So there's a lot of small little skin moles, I think, or skin freckles or something, that add extra details to the face, but they may be. You have to be careful how much you refer to them, because you may refer to them too much, so they may overpower the portrait, the caricature. So some details you've got to sort of relate to it proportionally, I think. So think about how important that detail is in the overall drawing. So many muscles, so many lines here that indicate incredible amount of focus and study. There's an awful lot of study. This man has really studied people. You can tell that. You can see by the expression in his eyes. There's a lot of powerful observational skills. Of course, good actors refer to life. The way that they make their roles believable. Morgan's a perfect example of that. He's a consummate actor, and goes, he's to the point where I think most of it is kind of, most of his skill is sort of innate. It's become sort of inbuilt into his personality. So he has that level of analysis and analysis, and like he analyzes thoughts and emotions and motivations and things like that you'd expect with an actor. and sort of seamlessly it can capture it and express it, all within a certain level of individual interpretation. This is good fun. So there's quite a lot of form here to capture. I'm going to be careful how much tone I put in, because I don't want it to be overly shaded. I need to have sort of a nice gradient effect. So allow the grey tone of the paper to do a lot of the heavy lifting as far as the half tone is concerned. The 50% of the work should be already there, so you don't have to use a lot of pigment. So pencils are really good, for capturing hair on people. Very textured. This is very fine, small strokes that have a individual, like, ooh, there. See, I told you that pencils, Prismacolors are very soft. They're beautiful because they have good coverage, but my God, they're soft. That tends to break. They tend to break easily. You know what? I'm going to be careful with this. See that line going across the. It's going to create an issue for me, I'm sure. I could just lighten it a little bit. There's some of this line work, pencil work, by rubbing it out. This is a black eraser, so it doesn't tend to smudge as much as a white eraser does. For some reason, I don't know. I think white erasers pick up a lot more of the pigment and keep it on the surface of the eraser, the rubber, and therefore it can, transfer a little bit too easy. So I'm just helping out a little bit with the tone here before I establish more of a hierarchy with the black pencil. That looks nice. Let's get in here with the pupil. He's got sort of hazelnut eyes or grey eyes, I think, but over here they're shaded. But I don't want to fill them in too much. I don't want to sort of... This is where, you have to think about what's happening with the photograph, because sometimes photos lie. Sometimes they hide anatomy, or they hide certain details which you need to think about, you need to refer to in a drawing, It's got very distinctive eyelashes, this sort of almost a mascara line. That's how powerful they are, how thick they are here. Yeah, I don't know. Move some of that tone. So sometimes you have to correct the shading that you put in. You might sort of overstep it and rob it of any sort of detail. There's a certain amount of details that are not easily discoverable in a photograph, that you've got to sort of refer to your knowledge of anatomy or form in order to bring it back into a sense of truthfulness. Okay, so that's quite nice. You see, I'm focusing on just on one eye first and sort of establishing a hierarchy of light and shade. I think it's working well. The pencil, black pencil, is very good with kicking up the contrast. And you can, the harder you press, obviously the more solid the black will be, and you know, it has that level of versatility, so it can be very, very gentle, very soft, and of course, you know, very striking and hard as well. Very dark. Alright, let's go forward. Now, I've got some subtle muscles and things. There's also little details. I'm going, as I find them, I'm going to refer to them, these little details on his skin. The moles or freckles, whatever they are. They're obviously distinctive in his face. They're, you know, like if you didn't put them in, they would be missed. Very powerful. These two lines here, these wrinkles, are incredibly steady and ordered. And that means that there's an awful lot of study going on here, a lot of analysis of the world. There's because there's no conflicts going on. There's no crisscrossing of these lines. They're very, very prominent, which means that the world view and the personal view interlock. So his personal view of the world and the world view, the world that he discovers from observation, interlock. So they're very closely related. If there were conflicts, you would see it in these lines, because that would mean that you'd be constantly surprised by things, and they would show up in expressions, and those expressions over time would be locked in lines on the face. Okay. It's a bit of form in the hair. It's not just a straight colour. So that's really nice. We can capture some different tonal effects there. So the nose, I want to create the right relationship between the rest of the forms, because all of these muscles interact with one another. And with an actor, they get an awful lot of use. I think that's nice. I like that. So far, so good. So, you need to keep in mind perspective, right? So the lines are going to do that sort of effect. So let's make sure that we don't forget that. Those lines relating to one another, and the right direction, the right angle, as much as we can. Okay, good. He's got one of the most distinctive faces and voices in the business, so you know, it's kind of like be a great thing, wouldn't it, to be so iconic. So he's got really powerful muscles around the cheeks, around the mouth. And that's very important for an actor, because you've got to be able to project and emote and create truth in your performance. Okay. There we go. So my eyes are flickering back and forth to bring in the details. Remember, we're focusing the details on the T-zone, the relationship between the eyes, the nose and the mouth. So any shapes, any contours which I'm able to find, and maybe if they're angles or something, I can subtly change them. So overall, the exaggeration and the simplification, which is part of the process of caricature, it's like a study. A lot of it is in the smaller details, so the overall shape, and also in finding and articulating the smaller details as well. And that also means, yes, things like the ears are very distinctive, so there's an overall shape and anatomy in the ears, but every adult has very distinctive, these areas are they form very distinctive shapes over time. So it's something that you have to understand, that even within the general architecture of this form, there is an incredible amount of individuality and specificity, very specific to each person. So I'm also building up the tone with the brown pencil. I like that, that's quite good. Let's try to get some modelling in this hair, because of course if it was just white it would be too luminous. Hair is not luminous. So that's good. I think it will work. I'm going to establish sort of a highlight on the edges of the form, which is not in the photograph, but the photograph I think mostly has a single source of light, which is fine, but I like to use multiple sources for portraiture. It just makes the figure or the face more three-dimensional. So you have multiple light sources. I like that. That's good. Let's try to get into some of these details here. Of course, the darker points of the pupils. There's a reflection which we need to remember, keep relevant. We're going to help that in a moment with a pen, some white pen. Some reflections into the sclera of the eye itself, and the lower part of the lid, the lower lid. At the very edge of that there is a lot of reflectivity. So it's a slow process, really, isn't it? Building up form, you know, overall form, and then on the individual details, so everything has the right amount, it's caught the right amount of light, and it refers to the textural qualities of the skin, where it's glossy in certain parts and matte in other parts. It's important to keep that in mind. I'm going to establish this. Artificially it's not there, but I'm going to build it in, which is this rim light here that's coming in. It's not in the photograph, but I'm going to put it in anyway because I think it will help establish a three-dimensional form. I like that. So you can see the light coming in from the top right, as we've spoken about before. We're going to be a long time doing this because there's a lot of tiny little details in here which are beautiful to capture with a pencil. So white pencil on grey paper, or indeed on black paper, or any kind of toned paper, is a fantastic way of catching these little light details in hair, or if you're doing cats or dogs or something, tigers, fur. Very, very good for that because the strokes of the pencil approximate almost the there's some tight curls here too, which I'm a bit I have to remember not to forget, because it's also part of the texture. Otherwise it'll look too military and shortcut, like a buzz cut. So very important to get the right form. Okay, there's lots of details here. Okay, let's go back. Okay, put in the shadows of the lids. There's the eyelashes. Cool. Build the shadows under here, under here as well. So many powerful lines here that he's grown over the years that indicate his strong personality. Very even. Looks like a very even-tempered person. There's not a lot of conflicts going on in his face, or complex lines. They're very strong and definite lines. So overall I think he's quite measured and very studious, very much in control of the situation. And really it's reflected in the characters that he plays, I think, too. The presidents and the deities that he plays, they all have a certain level of poise and gravitas that invoke trust and ability. Cool. Alright, so here we go. Get some of those shadows down here. Which are all these big muscles around his mouth and his eyes are sort of like incredible workout, really, of facial muscles that indicate like continuous use, like absolute. Every muscle that you see here is there for a reason. Cool. Okay. Let's try to get some light back into this edge. This part of the cheek is catching a lot of that light coming in. And part of the nose as well. I've changed the shape of the nose a little bit. I'm making it more, giving it a little bit more perspective, which I think is good. I think that will work. There's a really powerful shape coming down from his eyes down here. Get that edge in too. So that's a complement to that light that's coming in that I'm creating artificially, but you know, I think it's going to be fun. We get some little wayward hairs here. Cool. All right. Here we go. What a great subject. Actors are really good, you know, especially royalty like this. They're really, really good to draw because their story is in the lines of their face. And Morgan's got like so much story, and that's really cool to draw. It's very interesting. Some lines, subtle lines here, indicate like a, you know, a lot of muscle. I think we can draw these with the simple hatch lines of the pencil to give us a nice textural quality here. I'm liking this so far. I'm really enjoying it. Let's see what else we can do. What other mischief we can get into. Some subtle shading in the grey hair, a little bit here and there. Just add a little bit, help the variety, the tonal variety a little bit better. Cool. There you go. So a few loose strands. Seems to be a little bit of a light coming in from behind as well, because the skin of the ear is can be translucent depending on how much light's behind it. You can see how the brown pencil can help warm the tone of the black pencil. So you get the contrast, but you know, it doesn't stand out as a different colour. So it's still part of the warmth of the skin tones that you're trying to create. Alright, here we go. What are we doing here? It's a nice strong line there. Now these lines here are a bit exaggerated. There is a little bit of wayward hairs coming in from the back of the nape, the neck. I'll play with them a little bit later. Alright, here we go. I'll get some of these deep lines in here. So these are very distinctive to his everything works in unison. So, expressions in the eyes reflect and pull muscles around the nose and the mouth, etc. So it really has a sort of connectivity to it. But there is a lot of like minute elements moving, not independently, but they're sort of enough to be noticed. They're noticeable. Sharpen it. There we go, nice and sharp. That's going to be darker down there too. So we're going to build up the roundness of the nose. And why is that black? Be careful. See, when you put black without, any brown underneath, it just stands out as a different color. This is cool. I like that roundness there. There's a shadow which we have to respect because the light's coming in from this way. So obviously the nose would be casting a shadow over the upper lip. Now this area, like this area, the cheeks are the most powerful muscles here, and you can see them in full action. Even though he's not smiling or talking, you can see their effect because they've actually split the cheek. They've split from the eye. Now this eye area is referencing the top part of the orbits, the lower part of the orbits. So this sort of cheek area, this cheekbone, right, is very close to the skin normally, and that is showing through up here in this area, right? So that's very important to remember and also think about why it's there, because this is a complex set of muscles. Very complex use of muscles. Very powerful. He has a beautiful voice, but he's a powerful orator. He's a great orator. It does quite a lot of smiling, and you can tell it's been used quite a lot, this muscle. So, smiles are very distinctive. They form distinctive lines. Okay, so now we've got this very strong shadows down here on the lips, and I've put a little bit more perspective down here as well. So sometimes I use less, sometimes I use more, depending on what I want to do. So if it complements the overall shape which I'm adhering to, so the simplified shape which I've created, and all of the elements are being pushed into these areas, so they have a new formation, a new positioning, and a new relevance. And that's including the lips. So the lips have, everything is changed proportionally to, sit within the new structure. And I must not forget, the overall anatomy of the mouth. When you're drawing the mouth, you have to keep that in mind. Even though you've moved the goalposts, the ball's in play, you've got to keep in mind where the zones are, where the goals, where the well, that's enough of my sporting analogy. How's that? You got to keep an eye on where you're going with this. Okay, don't go crazy and put things that that shouldn't be there. That's not part of this exercise. If you want to do that, you can. You can sort of go crazy and move things around any which way you want. But this is more of a study, I think, that I'm trying to build here. It's great directions of hair on the lip. Now I've got some hair, shorter hairs here, and longer hairs here. Cool. Move that line out. No longer relevant there. Okay. The general. Keep an eye on the general direction of hair. Everything is important. I think that will do. Actually, let's get rid of that. Reverse to the bottom of the mouth, the other side of which I've hidden by the curvature of the lip. So I want to keep the profile that I've got. Whether it's wrong or right, I think I like it. Now these are unusual lines. These are very, very powerful lines that come down from the cheek. So that's, distinctive to his face. But you see how they sort of like this structure to create big gestures with the mouth, big gestures, big grins, big smiles, big sounds, some big effect. There's some lovely little details in the lips, some texture, which I'm going to try to capture too if I can. Okay, some little indents over here. He's got sort of elbow skin a little bit. His chin, that's interesting, isn't it? My sort of rough texture down here, which kind of indicates a little bit of cheekiness, because it's something that my daughter used to make, these sort of shapes. They look like elephant knees or elbow skin, sort of a crinkly effect on the chin that when kids are being naughty or cheeky, it's a sort of like a almost an expression. Makes him look really funny. Makes him look like, really giving him a cheeky expression. Let's try to play that up. He's got like this beautiful smile and a lot of personality that's coming through, and I can detect that. I hope I can capture that. There's a warmth of personality that is showing through. It's just coming through those little lines that I just discovered this. Didn't think of it before, but there you go. There it is. Elephant skin in the chin. In this sort of roughness indicates like a cheekiness, because that's what I've seen in my children, principally my eldest daughter, probably cheekier than the rest. I don't think she'd mind me saying that. Deborah, you're very cheeky. I love these beautiful shapes, the overhanging shapes and things, It's very, very cool to see this variety, a level of variety like this is lovely. Okay, be careful of those dots, remember. You can very quickly distract from the overall effect. This is a nice shadow here. You can see it with the brown pencil underneath. It's helping create a relevant amount so it doesn't overpower. I quite like that. What a beautiful face he's got. My God, this is a pleasure. This is a pleasure to do. I don't know why I didn't do it before. I guess I was scared of all the details and the, tiny little details. So much weathering going on. But the weathering on his face is very much to do with his persona, his personality. Because now you can see what a beautiful, happy, mischievous expression that he has. Okay, so line goes up there, comes down there, and retreats back up in that direction. The upper lip is not it's not articulated except over here, then it softens. Okay. Wow. Ah. There we go. That's a nice gentle smile. Now we're going to hit that with some white. And the white can really help pick out a lot of these little details. Nicely. Oops. See, I told you. Okay. Let's see what I can do with that. That'll work. Now, got the outer shape of the mustache. I think that will work there. Okay. Yep, that'll do. Alright, go back to the lips. Put some more warmth back in there. You know what? There is a little bit of sharpness and some black in his mustache, which it's important to create more form, I think, within that shape. So in the shadow areas, yeah. Okay, there we go. Now, get back here. Where are we going with this? We need to create the shadow. There's also a highlight coming in on that side. That fold there. There we go. And it's also up here and a little bit into the texture of this chin. There we go, nice. Cool. So far, so good. All right. Where's this going here? Let's get back to the brown. So there's some little fine lines and textures in the texture of the lips, which I think we can try to, there's a lot of details here, but we can try to sort of articulate them a little bit. Roundness on this side. Okay. There we go. So there's a shadow under here. Very powerful lips, expressive lower part of the face. Of course, the muscles are indicating there's a lot of use there. There's a lot of power, a lot of potency, which you would really expect with an actor, someone who's really good at their craft, and you can see it, it's evident. All right, there we go. What else? So we need to build up some shadow down on that side, but I'm kind of I want to try to build up that little bit of a highlight down there, you know. So let's shade this, and then we're going to refer to a little light source coming in just on the edge there. That's the same with this side of the face too. Cool, there you go. So this part, so there's a shadow coming in here. This is getting more darker because the shadow's coming down into the lower part of the left-hand side of the face. But I don't want to sort of overstep that mark and make it too dark. But keep the form happening. Right, now over here you've got some lines coming into the throat area. simplifying the suit. Just some simple lines will do. Alright, I'm quite happy with the build-up of tone. I think it's quite nice. The other thing, let's fix up the border. I think just pick out the correct lines and just darken them a little bit. I'm going to bring in a brush pen, probably a black brush pen, to make the hair stand out, and keep a nice control over the thick and thin properties of the external contours of the face, which I'm going to play up a little bit in a second with a brush pen, black brush pen. Ooh, what happened to my signature? Alright, just clean up some of these lines with a pencil, and then of course I'll go over them a little bit cleaner and sharper. Both the black and the white. Okay. Overall, I think it's quite exciting, this face, for me. I've really enjoyed this. It's got a beautiful expression. I hope I'm doing him justice. Ooh, careful, careful. Huh, that was close. This pen is, looks like it's clogging or something. Let's see if I can fix this. Not easily. That was silly. Got it now all over my hands. Okay, it's a bit better. So, I don't want it to clog. See, that highlight's a bit stronger. Maybe a little bit too strong, but now it's there. I can't really knock it back too much, especially while it's wet. So there's some reflections in the lower part of the sclera, the white of the eye. I'm going to play with the side light, the light that's coming in, this sort of a pin light effect, or not a pin light, a rim light effect. And that's going to help give me some definition. That's cool, that'll do. Now the mustache. That'll do. That's good. I've got to put the highlights in the lips with a pencil, so I'll have to go back in there. That's cool. Let's see what else I can. More mischief I can get up to over here. Some little tiny highlights here and there. I've got a rim light happening on the right. I'm also got a rim light happening on the left hand side. So it's helping, I think, establish some of the tonal differences in the hair. That'll do. Over here, because the ears are very distinctly shiny in parts, so have stronger reflective properties. Good. Now let me finish the lips. What else can I do? Let's see. I've got a brush pen here which I can play with. The white on that. Maybe help out with some of the contrasts in the lips. I think that might work. Yeah. Okay. I might leave the jacket where it is, and we'll try and get into the background, this negative space around the shape. So I just want to try to be very careful. Actually, we'll try over on this side first, because I am right-handed and I don't want to lean on the artwork too much. So what I'm doing with this is I'm filling in the negative space around the form, around the face, around the head, but I am creating a almost I'm staying away from the contours, and the reason why I'm doing that is to respect their thick and thin qualities. And because if you were to paint right up to that, it would obviously take over, and you'd lose the thick and thin quality of the line. So let's try to, I think before we go any further, we might try to help the impact a little bit. The black pencil's quite solid, but you know, just having a little bit of help here and there, I think will work. Okay. I wonder if I dare. Yes, I dare. There you go. Huh. So I'm just helping the line work out a little bit with usually with the contours or anything that's roundish, like the nose. You want to sort of stand out a little bit from the background. So the thicker and thin lines help to make that possible. So on the cutting in, of course, take your time, slow down, don't rush that, and then you can use a broader pen, paint pen. This is a Posca, which dries quite flat and doesn't go through the paper. So it's much better than spirit marker, alcohol marker. Love these cutting in with these little mustache hairs and things to make them really chunky. That's really cool. I love that effect. Looks very convincing. And of course, staying away from the contour really articulates that shape quite well. It exaggerates the shape by duplication. Okay. I think that's okay. Here we go. This is a test to my steady hand here, coming into these nape hairs. That might work. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay. I think that it works better the simpler the line is, so it's not exactly a mimic of the contour that it's next to. It's somewhat simplified. This is quite a big chunky pen, and that'll fill in a lot of that area quite quickly. Dries beautifully flat, almost like a gouache. Which is much better than like Indian ink. I'm really enjoying Morgan. So this is good fun. Such a beautiful, powerful face, very expressive, great personality, you know, sense of humor, all of that's coming through, I think. I hope. So I've got a little bit, I think it's recognizable as Morgan, but more importantly, I think it's very beautifully tells the story of his personality. Such a beautiful man, such a beautiful story in his face. Very talented. Very, you know, like so trustworthy, isn't he? I mean, the characters that he plays, presidents and God and stuff. It's sort of like a perfect choice, I think. Because he's really funny and clever and he knows it. He knows it. All right, MorganFreeman, and it fits. Hooray! Well, that was a nice journey. I loved that. I really enjoyed it. This is going to dry nice and flat, by the way. So all of this shininess is just because the pen is still wet. The paint's still wet. The paint from the pen is still wet. Speak English. Alright, so this is Morgan Freeman. This is my Morgan Freeman. This is how I remember him. Really enjoyed his face. And there's some beautiful lines there, and even the little details. Incredible amount of structure and muscle that he uses to inform us and tell us stories of his, his personality and the characters that he plays as well. So there he is. That's Morgan, more than just a voice. He's also a fantastic person and beautiful face. And I've really enjoyed this time that I've shared with you, and share my love of Morgan the man and the work. All right, so this is Morgan. This is Frantz Kantor. And I will catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.